Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of In the Crease. As always, my co-host, Bob Nelson, is with me, and we want to start off the show by giving congratulations to Jonathan Quick, American-born goaltender, just notched his 400th win. Certainly that's, he's been in the game a long time, but still 400 wins, and I think it's safe to say he's the last remnant of that old vanguard of goaltending. I know you're a little bit pissed at him because he uses or developed that reverse loading thing.
RVH.
And you don't like that, but it works for him.
But he's athletically enough to do it.
Yeah.
But also he's a reaction goalie, which again he's not that traditional butterfly. That's why he has 400 wins.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of everyone's talking about guys on their knees. You still got to be able to move.
Yeah.
I still want to wake up in the morning and have two hips and no surgery at the age of 25, 26. And that's what this game is coming to.
Yeah.
Everyone plays on their knees now. Everyone's got to be 6'8". Everyone's got to be 200 plus pounds. And again, they're cookie cut goalers. And I wonder if Ovechkin's going to catch the great one. The great one.
And I'm wondering, actually, I'm hoping maybe that'll change because this new breed of goaltender, which we despise, was really promoted heavily by Gary Bettman.
Correct.
Because he thought that type of goalie would allow for more goals, and it has.
It has.
Less shots per game, but more goals per game. So Bettman kind of rocked the world a little bit, saying that he was getting ready to retire. Yeah. That can't come fast enough as far as I'm concerned. And maybe, just maybe, when he goes this whole idea of these big oafs in net that, play percentages and hope the puck hits them, maybe that era will be gone and we'll get back to some pretty decent. There's always hope.
Yeah, there's definitely hope. I mean, the only thing that concerns me about, goaltending, because it seems like some of the great ones are going to be leaving the game here shortly in the next couple years, that these cookie cutter goalies are here to stay because, these goalie coaches are just coaching us. Cover the bottom net, cover the bottom net, cover the bottom net. How about let's cover the whole net?
Yeah.
Let's not worry about just covering half the net. I'm so tired of goalies going down to their knees and pucks are blown over their shoulder. They have no clue where it is because they're on their knees looking through someone's legs instead of looking everywhere.
Yep. And you remember goalies like Felix Potvin was one. I think Nabokov was another one. When people were crowding their net, they went down into a crouch that was, their butts were almost on the ice.
Lundqvist.
But they stayed up so they could still,
Correct. You still got to have a little bit of lateral.
Correct.
You got to cover the whole net, not just the bottom of the net.
Yep.
Because sticks are so great now. The technology of sticks.
Yeah.
Just, it's unbelievable. You can take an old guy like us and put a 70 flex stick in their hand and we can shoot 90 miles an hour,
Yeah. So, well, we wanted to start off the show saying congratulations and kudos to Jonathan Quick. That's quite a milestone. And before we go any further, we were talking on the last show about the Four Nation tournament. Boy, I know this thing just has you rattled, so have at it.
Listen, it's like my mom always said, if you had 2 pieces of candy and you had 3 friends, you don't give any candy to anyone.
Makes sense.
4 nations. I know there's a lot of other countries that play hockey besides the Finns, the Swedes, the Canadians, and the USA. The other funny thing is I hate talking politics. I really do. But I think
sometimes it weasels into the game.
I think this is going to fit really nicely because I don't think the USA of America is expecting to have their national anthem booed in Ottawa. In Ottawa, because some of the political things that are going on in our country.
Yeah.
Like the tariff and the tax, which is going to kill.
Well, that was all
going to kill my business
pretty much this
because
morning,
guess where all this hockey equipment comes from?
Yeah.
That I sell.
But that
China, Canada.
Yeah, I think that's a moot point now because they talked on the phone, him and Trudeau, and they said okay, and he suspended the tariffs because he got what he wanted.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
I don't think they'll come back.
But
I think he made his play.
I think we've hurt the Canadian people being American.
Well, they were booing.
We heard them.
Yeah.
We really did, because they did nothing wrong to us.
Um,
They gave us something called hockey, which is the most wonderful thing in the world.
well, this is true.
And they're booing our national anthem at a hockey game
Yeah.
because we.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, I basically feel we stabbed them in the back for no apparent reason.
No, I don't see it that way. I saw this as a total business move, and it was a power play move. And I think
definitely a power play
I think
move.
it worked, and I think basically what's going to happen is the bond between Canada and Mexico and the U.S. is actually going to become a lot stronger now.
Hopefully.
And we need that.
Yeah.
Because of the BRICS union and everything that's going on overseas. So we're going to have to disagree on that one. I think we're going to be okay.
And I also think the Four Nations is, what about some of the great players that play in Russia or the Czech Republic? Again, I keep
well,
harping
they get to
on
go
this.
home and have a vacation.
And plus the IFIH, whatever they're called, I don't care about this.
But
Bettman
they
cares
did
about,
sanction it.
Yes, but Bettman cares about this.
Yes.
For one reason.
Money.
Because he's preparing, well, not only the money, but he's preparing this little event here for the Olympics following. And also, not only is he getting probably a good chunk of change to stop his league for a while. I mean, you got to tip your hat to Bettman only on one thing. Boy,
he makes money.
Yes, the salary cap is going up the next 3 or 4 years, which means one thing. It means if you have a bad hockey club, you're going to be able to turn it around a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the money came from this four-nation event. And it would have been nicer if there was 6 nations or maybe 8 nations playing in it.
Yeah.
But again, would you rather have the 4 nations or rather have an all-star game with skills competition? Because that's what the league turned out to be, a skills competition. It's not it's any all-star event, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, basketball. It's really not. It's really a festive event. It's not the game, And I think more fans like the skills competition in hockey than the actual game itself, because obviously the game's kind of lame. It's whether it's 3-on-3 or 5-on-5. It's not a very good game. But the skills competition is unique because now they're letting the players come out of their shell and be different and be unique and be very like fireworks, boom. I mean, like whatever the skill is, whether it's a hard shot competition. And I think the NHL, they're looking at gimmicks instead of promoting the game and promoting the players. And that's a shame. And hopefully this event will promote the great players of the game, because it might be the last time you see a guy like, Sid Crosby. I hate to say it, I really think Fleury should have been a part of Team Canada, on his way out the door. And it would be nice to see Ovechkin chasing, Mr. Gretzky's record to be in this tournament also.
Well, since you mentioned Fleury, we got a couple of clips that we want to show you here. Sinatra made a song, "You're Riding High in April and Shot Down in May." That certainly happened to good old Marc-Andre. First, let's start off with the low point. He was playing a game, and wow, did he get clocked. And then, a few nights later, Marc-Andre was in the nets again, this time against Montreal. And I guess if you've been watching this show at all, I completely loathe the Montreal Canadiens. Always have, always will. But I got to admit, this was kind of classy. This really was on their part. It was the last time, because Fleury's going to retire at the end of the year, and this was the last time he would ever play in the Montreal Forum. And
you mean the Bell Center?
The Bell Center, sorry. Give away my age there.
You're old, you're calling that the Forum. What did he do? Go play street hockey in the parking lot where the Forum was?
I guess so.
Jeez.
So they gave him the start. He notched a shutout, blanked the Habs 4-0. And after his team congratulated him, the Canadiens, the Habs, lined up like they do at the end of the one of the playoff series. So you go from one game getting punched right in the face, no respect at all. It's like Rodney Dangerfield, and then the next game you get a class act like the Habs did, and it pains for me to say that, but
yeah. Well, I'm actually surprised you didn't mention the clip in the locker room before the game, because Mark got there pretty early and he had a special visitor waiting for him.
I didn't
Mr.
see that.
LeFay was in the locker room.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, with a new set of pads for Mark.
Nice.
Yes, glove blocker and pads for him. And from what I understand from a good source that works for True Hockey, his last game will be a special set of pads, I believe. Should have the date and everything embroidered on it, his name on them.
Have you seen them yet?
I've seen blueprints of them because they're not made yet. Because he's trying to keep it on the low.
Yeah.
But I heard they're going to be signed and possibly been either in the Hockey Hall of Fame or possibly raffled off for charity. One of his charities of him and his wife.
That's slick.
But that's
pretty slick.
Coming up. I really wish his last game would be in Pittsburgh. I really do, because I think that would have been tremendous.
Well, let's get back to the Four Nations just for a bit there. We had a little sidetrack with Fleury. Bob and I both agree that this Four Nation tournament is a waste and should not be done and should not disrupt the season for it. So because we think that way, of course, Bettman is doing it again. In 2028, which might seem like a far way away, but it's really not, he has sanctioned the World Cup. And this will be, from what I understand, the teams that you were upset were not in the Four Nations will be in the World Cup. However, there's still controversy because the IIHF won't sanction the World Cup.
Correct.
But they're going to go ahead and do it anyway. Your thoughts on this? Is it going to be better than the Four Nations?
Well, I don't know if it's going to happen.
You think it's still up in the air?
Well, for a couple reasons.
Okay.
One reason is Bettman's already talked about retiring.
True.
Is he planning on retiring after 2028? Is that his bon voyage out of the NHL?
You think he'll be around that long?
I don't know. Because if he's not, this ain't happening.
And you think if he goes, the new guy won't do it?
No, definitely, because it's not his legacy. The new guy who comes in there, whoever it may be, is not going to live on Gary Bettman's coattail. He's going to probably get himself far, far away because, as we know in any sport, the commissioner is the bad guy.
Do you have any speculation who might replace him?
I know who I'd like to have the commissioner, but it'll never happen.
Are you going to say Ken Dryden?
I'm going to say Ken Dryden.
I knew you would.
Because for two reasons. Not only was he a president of a hockey, not only was he a player, not only was he an elite player, not only does he have a brain because he's an attorney.
He is.
You know, I think, and he was an agent for a little bit too. So he is the best of both worlds. He has the players in mind. He also has the ownership in mind because he was once a little bit of everything except never owned a hockey team.
You think if he's offered it, he wants it?
No, because of his age.
Yeah.
You know, because he is up there in age.
Yeah.
But I think he would be a very, very good decision. So he has a little bit of everything involved in hockey. And to me, that's tremendous. That's what you want in a commissioner. You want him to see all sides of the story, not just the owner sides of the story. I think that's what made this league suffer for so long.
Yeah.
You got to have hindsight.
Because Bettman had blinders on.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he only did things that benefit Gary Bettman.
Right.
He didn't do things that, and the owners, he didn't do things that benefit the players all the time.
Right. Exactly
Like this situation, say you're in a Stanley Cup hunt and one of your superstars get hurt in this event, and you're the GM or the president or owner of your hockey club, and you just let your player go and play in a meaningless tournament that could have been played after the season,
Yes.
how upset would you be?
Yes. Yes, immensely.
Or imagine if the Russians were invited to this and Ovechkin was 10 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record and he breaks his leg and never plays another minute of a game.
Yep.
How mad would you be if you were the Capitals or Ovechkin?
You would be the only one smiling.
Maybe.
You may. I think so.
But you see that point, though.
I do. I agree with you totally. I think this is stupid to have it in the middle of the season. And
just like I believe All-Star games
yeah.
should be at the end of the season.
Yes. Yes, I would agree.
Because you can't take half the season and say, hey, you're an All-Star.
Yeah.
You know, it should be at the end of the season. And you should make it where, and I understand the seasons are so long and so long and so long, but put incentives in each player's contract.
And I'll tell you what, I remember.
Give them a little bit of the revenue.
I'm going to give away my age again. But I remember when the All-Star game used to kick off the season.
Correct.
And it was the Stanley Cup champion team against the
All-Star team.
No, it was against the college winners.
Yes.
And naturally, most of the guys for the at that time for the Stanley Cup champion team, the big names probably wouldn't show, except for the social things.
Yep.
So they'd be playing against the second and third stringers, but still, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
See the young kids come up and try to play. Hey, let's move on to another topic here. There are an awful lot, I think, there are an awful lot of trades happening. Now, the deadline isn't until March 7th, but there have been an awful lot of trades already, and I think there's more coming down the road. Your comments on the activity
If
so
I'm a
far.
GM, I'm making trades, I'm not waiting for the trade deadline.
Purpose.
A lot of purpose. You wait till the deadline, and you're up against the time clock first and foremost.
Okay.
So you might be shooting from the hip. You might be making mistakes in this trade.
Okay.
Number two, that when that player comes to you, he's already behind the 8 ball. He doesn't know your system, doesn't know the players in the locker room for the most part, doesn't know the coaching staff. So you're basically giving him a final exam, and you're expecting him to make that final exam with the last, say, 15 games of the season. If you trade him at the halfway point of the season, now you got about 30, 40 games to get used to the surroundings of the hockey club, the personalities on the hockey club. Then you can fine-tune everything. So when you're going into the playoff run, now this guy isn't scrambling. He's now comfortable in the system. He's comfortable in everything. So to me, when you make a trade, it should be earlier and often.
That makes
The
sense.
people that make trades at the deadline are desperate. They're either desperate.
Don't say that to Ronnie Francis.
They're either desperate to make a playoff push, or they're desperate to unload salary. And sometimes when you're desperate, you make mistakes like the Hartford Whalers general manager at the time, Eddie Johnson. He made a trade that might go down in hockey history. It may be the second or third best trade to ever come in hockey, behind the Gretzky trade, obviously, because when you trade an elite player like him and you still win a Stanley Cup that year, that's a pretty tremendous trade that they made to get, Gretzky away. But when you're talking of bringing Grant Jennings, Ulf Samuelsson, and Ronnie Francis to your team, a one-time captain on that Hartford Wheeler team,
right.
one of the better rough defensemen in the league, and you have a core piece, a fifth and sixth defenseman in your room that was humongous and pretty physical too, in Grant Jennings. And they were like the little pieces of the puzzle as you thought, but really turned out to be a big piece of the puzzle to get a second-line center with captain, bona fide locker room thing in there. And Hartford,
excellent on faceoffs.
Hartford was never the same after that trade because EJ panicked, because he was getting the Penguins' best scorer at the time because Mary was hurt a little bit, and I think John Collin was leading the team in points at the time they traded him. And you sometimes you think you're getting the best point guy when you don't have the right pawns around you.
Right.
And I think EJ really panicked on that trade.
Well, the social webs are filled now with these rumors of Crosby going to Colorado.
And he nicked it. He came right out and said, he came right out about 3 days later and said, I'm signed for 3 years in Pittsburgh. I've been a Penguin. I am a Penguin. I'm going to be a Penguin.
Do you think that was hype, or do you think?
No, I think Sid speaks from the heart.
Okay.
There's a reason why he has that no trade clause in his contract.
So the idea of him hooking up with his buddy Nate.
I don't think.
That
I
doesn't
heard
carry weight.
rumors that it was going to happen.
Yeah, so
but,
did I.
Coming from his side of the barn,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have came out and said that because he's not a two-faced athlete.
Let's talk about some goalies. I like what the Capitals did. The Capitals made sure that they signed Logan Thompson. They like him a lot. So they signed him to a contract extension, and then they did the same thing with Charlie Lindgren. They really like that tandem they have in Washington.
Me too, because I think they're going to choke in the playoffs.
Well, interesting. You think the goalies are going to choke, or the team is
I
going
think
to?
the goalies are going to choke.
Oh, why do you say that?
Because when you give goalies big contracts
Yeah.
and they haven't proved anything yet,
You think the money went to their heads?
I mean, I wouldn't wait till the end of the season to give my goalies contract. Show me why you want that money. Because there's only one team that wins the cup.
This is true.
And there's only been, in the last few years, there's only been one goalie that has a lot of money in the bank that has won the cup and took his team to win the cup. And that was Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
He's been the only goalie that has made his money and led his team to the cup. And every goalie that has got money has never been back to hoist a trophy above their head.
Interesting.
And to me, you're just making them get that old fat cat syndrome.
Well, I will say that I think it's probably that tandem of those two goalies that have made the Capitals as strong as they are.
They have.
Because
But
I don't. I think
look at
that's
your
been a
team.
problem with them.
The hat on your head. Look what
Yeah.
happened the last couple of years with the two best goalies in the league,
Yeah.
tandem-wise.
And they broke them up.
And they're
And Ottawa is doing well with
Yeah.
Ullmark.
and again, if you have two goalies, sometimes you don't have any goalies because it's hard to decide who's you're going to start in the playoffs, and you're more likely to lose confidence in that guy when he starts losing
Yeah.
instead of riding the hot hand or riding one goalie.
And I
Because
think that happened
most
last
cups-
year with the Bruins.
Yeah, most cups
I think it did.
that are won by guys taking their team and getting on a hot run. I mean, I know Pittsburgh talks about how great Murray was, but Murray wouldn't have rings if it wasn't for Fleury. And Fleury might not have had a ring if it wasn't for Murray.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You know, because the coach made a decision once the guy got hot. I'm staying with that one guy.
Stay with the hot guy. Well, speaking of hot guys, in a move that I thought was kind of still talking about netminders here, is Seattle decided to get rid of Grubauer, Philip Grubauer.
Typical contract dump.
Yeah, it was, but I was kind of surprised. Now that Joey Decord has played well this year, and I guess well enough that they thought they could dump Grubauer. But considering where Grubauer was, he was with the Caps when Holtby was there, playing second fiddle. When he went to Seattle, I mean,
He's in Colorado for a while too.
for a while, he kind of carried that Seattle team. I mean, he didn't play badly. Now, he's had some problems this year, but that's because he's been sitting on the bench a lot, and Decord has been playing ahead of him. And he's one of those goalies that the more he plays, the better he plays.
But again, when you have that much money involved, just like Jari in Pittsburgh, you have that much money under contract because he was an expansion goalie draft pick and he was paid a lot of money when they picked him off the roster. Sometimes you gotta part ways with high-end contracts.
Well, are you surprised nobody came around and grabbed him right away, or
No, I'm not.
you think the contract prevented
Scared
that?
people, yeah.
So he's
sure.
going to play in the minors.
Just like Jari, who wants a $5.5 million goalie.
That can't stop the puck.
I mean, you hate to say it, but
Yeah.
To me, a lot of these organizations are having issues, and I really thought there'd be a lot more goalies moved.
Well, it's still early.
Yeah, but moved early
Yeah.
because again, when you're DFAing goalies left and right here, and he's the third goalie that's been waived.
Yeah.
That my knowledge.
And we've been talking about the goalie situation with Pittsburgh, and they don't really have,
Their best goalie that Sullivan don't like.
but they don't have a goaltender there who's like a seasoned vet that can kind of minor
No, but
the
they have a
younger
goal.
guys.
They have a goalie who was a 7th-round pick who's lighting up the coast.
Yeah,
Now he's
you're
lighting up
talking about the
AHL.
kid on Wheeling.
Well, now
right?
he's up in the AHL.
Oh, they brought him up.
Yeah, because they had an injury to.
What's he with, Wilkes-Barre?
He's with Wilkes-Barre. Right? I can't think of the Russian.
Is he
goalies,
keeping up the same numbers?
He's been tremendous down there.
Yeah.
And Sullivan don't like him because he's only 6 foot tall.
Oh, jeez. See, we get back to that thing again. That's.
But yet Bloomquist is here, and Bloomquist is only 6'1".
Yeah.
And Bloomquist, in my opinion, was the future of the team supposedly, and he's hit a rut because they're not playing him, playing Nedeljkovic. And Nedeljkovic is playing okay, but he's a number 2 guy. He's not a number 1 guy.
Yeah.
You got these 2 young goalies in Bloomquist and the Russian. Call them up, keep 3 goalies, and just rotate them a game until one guy picks up the trophy and just keep putting him in net then.
So you don't think a seasoned vet, somebody like Grubauer, would help that crew out?
No, because they've already admitted they're tanking. They just traded Pettersson away to the Pettersson Island up in Vancouver.
Yeah, they did.
You know what I mean? Like if you're not dumping probably your best defensive defenseman on that roster.
Yeah.
You can't trade Carlson. You can't trade Letang. You can't trade Malkin. You're not trading Crosby.
Right.
So I think Raquel's the next one gone. I think, I couldn't believe, Pittsburgh wanted to reload. JT Miller was out there. I know Rutherford loves trading with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh wants draft picks. That's why they made the trade with Rutherford, because they know Rutherford don't care about draft picks. It's obvious. Look what he did to here.
Yeah.
Miller got traded. The Flyers traded Morgan Frost and Farabee for no apparent reason. I mean, my inside tells me they're looking in free agency at the end of the season to go get a top line center. They had Frost, who was a top line center.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I don't know if it's Briere now. I don't know if it's Torty, but they're killing that organization because they're making stupid trades. They got nothing back. They got a guy that was a healthy scratch for how many games, was the number 1 pick, 26th overall by Calgary. They have another European guy that has been in and out of Calgary's lineup. I mean, they want a number 1 center that they've never had in Philly since Lindros or Forsberg maybe.
Yeah. Well, before we got to wrap this up pretty quick here. But before we do, I want to talk about the controversy that happened in Ottawa, and because you're wearing the hat, and because you talked about this before. But their mascot came to a game, and the shirt was split in half. Half of it was the Ottawa Senators, and the other half was the Quebec Nordiques. And the mascot wore this during the game, and it was right after they announced that there would be 2 preseason games that the Sens would play in Quebec City. And that started a big hoopla about the Senators moving from Ottawa to Quebec. Did you hear anything on this? Are you in favor of this? What?
So here's the big thing that I heard. I don't believe Ottawa is going to be moving anywhere. There's been rumors that Gary Bettman, before he leaves the throne, wants 2 more expansion teams. The owners want 2 more expansion teams because they make money hand over foot. The TV contract is up. They're up, making the salary cap go up. So what I heard was there was four areas that were up for bid again for expansion team. I heard, believe it or not, Arizona again, because there is a guy with deep pockets that wants to put a team back in Arizona, and Gary Bettman would have like nothing more than put a team before he left in Arizona. Also, the other rumor was Atlanta again for the 3rd time, because there's another northern guy that has billions upon billions of dollars that wants a hockey toy. The other place was Kansas City because of their facility.
The Scouts?
Yep.
Yeah.
But they won't bring back the Scouts. I can guarantee you that, because, it's politically incorrect to have an Indian, to pay respect to a Native American Indian on your sports logo. Plus, with the Blackhawks being the situation, I don't think the Scouts would ever, which tells me that Kansas City's off the map. And then the 3rd team would be the Quebec Nordiques.
Well, that's interesting.
But
that's very interesting. 2 reruns, and
Bettman took that out of the NFL with all these games over in London.
Yeah.
With the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. Well, folks, there you have it. We are fresh out of time. I'm sorry we can't talk more hockey. We'll have to save the rest of these topics for the next time around. On behalf of Bob Nelson, Dave Cable over in the studio, I'm Fiore Mastracci, and remember, when it comes to hockey, if you're in the game, you're in the crease.